What if I told you the richest man in history didn't invent anything, didn't strike oil with his own hands, and didn't live like the kings of his era? Yet, he built an empire so powerful that even the US government had to break it apart. What if I told you this man carried rolls of shiny dimes in his pocket, handing them to children, while quietly controlling almost every drop of oil in America? This isn't just the story of money. It's the story of discipline, scandal, and power. Rockefeller, the billionaire secret. John D. Rockefeller, a man born into a family with a father accused of being a con man, who went on to become the world's first billionaire. And here's the twist. The government breakup of his empire and his Plan B made him even richer. So how did John D. Rockefeller rise from a boy earning 50 cents a day to a man whose fortune, even today, dwarfs Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos combined? Stay with me, because once you discover the secrets of Rockefeller's life, the hidden habits, the quiet obsessions, the controversies, and the legacy still shaping our world, you'll never look at wealth, business, or power the same way again. Did you know that John D. Rockefeller, the richest man in modern history, started his career earning just 50 cents a day? Most people don't realize that the first official billionaire in the United States lived a surprisingly simple life. He loved to play golf. He handed out shiny dimes to children he met, and he kept a little notebook where he recorded every penny he spent. His story isn't just about money. It's about vision, discipline, and a legacy that still shapes the world today. John Davison Rockefeller was born on July 8, 1839 in Richford, New York. His family background was not glamorous. His father, William Avery Rockefeller, was known as Big Bill, and Big Bill had a reputation. He was a traveling salesman, often absent from home, and some even accused him of being a con man. He called himself a botanic physician, selling miracle cures that were little more than snake oil. In fact, his double life was so notorious that he sometimes used aliases and kept more than one family at the same time. John's mother, Eliza, was the complete opposite. She was a devout Baptist, a strict woman who managed the household with almost no money. From her, John learned self-control, thrift, and religious faith. She taught him to save money, to work hard, and to tithe 10% of every dollar he earned to the church. Those lessons would shape him more than anything else in his youth. At the age of 16, Rockefeller got his first real job as an assistant bookkeeper in Cleveland, Ohio. His pay? Just $16 a month, barely enough to survive. But here's what set him apart. He carefully tracked every single cent he earned and spent in a little book he called Ledger A. That book still exists today in archives. In it, you can see the beginnings of his obsession with order, numbers, and discipline. He wasn't just working a job. He was building habits that would one day make him the wealthiest man alive. Most people don't know this, but by the age of 20, Rockefeller had already saved up $1,000, a huge sum at the time. He borrowed another $1,000 from his father and launched his first business partnership in commodities. Then came oil. During the 1860s, crude oil was the new gold rush of America. Everyone wanted to drill wells, hoping to strike it rich. But Rockefeller thought differently. Drilling was risky. Wells could dry up overnight. Instead, he focused on refining crude oil into kerosene, something every household needed for lamps. This decision would change everything. In 1870, Rockefeller and his partners founded Standard Oil. Within just a few years, the company became the dominant force in the industry. At its peak, Standard Oil refined nearly 90% of all oil in the United States. Imagine that. Almost every lamp burning in America, every lantern on every ship, every streetlight shining at night, all of it came from Rockefeller's empire. Here's something most people never hear. Rockefeller didn't just sell oil. He controlled the entire process. He pioneered what's now called vertical integration. He bought forests to supply wood for barrels. He built his own barrel factories. He purchased warehouses, pipelines, and railcars. Even the chemicals used in refining were manufactured by his own companies. Waste products, he sold those too. Petroleum jelly, for example, was branded and sold as Vaseline. Nothing went unused. Even by the 1880s, Rockefeller's empire was so vast that journalists and politicians started to take notice. Some called Standard Oil a monopoly. Others accused Rockefeller of using secret deals with railroads to crush his competition. In 1902, investigative journalist Ida Tarbell published a famous exposé on Standard Oil, describing its business practices in detail. Her series shocked the public and fueled government action. In 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court finally ruled that Standard Oil was an illegal monopoly. The company was broken into 34 smaller companies. At first glance, this seemed like Rockefeller's defeat. But here's the twist. Rockefeller owned shares in every one of those new companies. And many of them, like Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, and Amoco, went on to become giants themselves. The breakup actually made Rockefeller even richer. In fact, his personal wealth doubled in just a few years. By 1916, John D. Rockefeller officially became the world's first billionaire. Adjusted for inflation, his wealth would be worth more than $400 billion today, more than Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or Bill Gates at their peak. But here's the part most people don't know. Rockefeller lived a surprisingly modest lifestyle. Unlike the Vanderbilt family, who built massive mansions, Rockefeller's homes were comfortable but not overly lavish. He was deeply religious, avoided alcohol and smoking, and believed in keeping life simple. He had a passion for golf and played well into old age. Even as one of the wealthiest men in history, he enjoyed long walks, gardening, and giving away dimes to children he met. Yes, dimes. Rockefeller had a famous habit of carrying rolls of shiny new dimes in his pocket. Whenever he met children, he would hand one out with a smile. Some kids even collected these Rockefeller dimes like treasures. To him, it was a small way of spreading joy and perhaps teaching the value of money. This ritual became so well known that even in his 90s, Rockefeller was still giving out dimes. Now let's talk about his philanthropy, because this is where his legacy truly expands. Rockefeller believed his fortune had to be used for the greater good. Over his lifetime, he gave away more than $500 million. He funded the University of Chicago, which grew into one of the world's leading universities. He established the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, which developed treatments for deadly diseases like yellow fever and hookworm. His Rockefeller Foundation supported education, science, and public health around the world. Did you know that some of the medical breakthroughs funded by Rockefeller's philanthropy are still saving lives today? His foundation helped fund research that led to the development of vaccines and cures for diseases that once devastated populations. It's an aspect of his legacy that many overlook. Rockefeller's personal life also had unique details. He married Laura Celestia Spellman in 1864. They had 5 children together. Their only son, John D. Rockefeller Jr., would later become a philanthropist in his own right, playing a major role in building Rockefeller Center in New York City and donating land for the United Nations headquarters. The Rockefeller family continued his tradition of philanthropy, shaping American culture and business for generations. Another lesser-known fact: Rockefeller was obsessed with efficiency in every part of his life. He even monitored his health with the same precision he applied to business. In his 50s, under heavy stress, he lost most of his hair and developed alopecia. For the rest of his life, he wore wigs. But instead of letting illness stop him, he simplified his schedule, reduced his workload, and focused more on philanthropy and family. He lived to the age of 97, an extraordinary lifespan for someone born in the 1830s. By the time he died in 1937, Rockefeller had witnessed nearly a century of transformation. He had seen America change from a young rural nation to an industrial superpower. He saw the rise of electricity, automobiles, and airplanes, all industries powered by oil. And he knew that his empire had fueled much of that progress. So what can we learn from John D. Rockefeller today? Maybe it's that discipline can be more powerful than luck. That seeing opportunity where others see risk can change history. That wealth, when directed wisely, can build universities, cure diseases, and shape nations. Most people don't know this, but Rockefeller once said, "I always tried to turn every disaster into an opportunity." And perhaps that's the best summary of his life. He turned humble beginnings into unimaginable wealth. He turned controversy into a business empire. And in the end, he turned his fortune into a legacy of philanthropy that still touches the world. From a boy with a ledger book to the richest man who ever lived. From the creator of Standard Oil to the father of modern philanthropy. John D. Rockefeller remains one of the most fascinating figures in history. So let me ask you, do you see him as proof of the American dream? Or as a warning about too much power in one man's hands? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed discovering these surprising facts about the richest man in history, don't forget to subscribe and share, because there are still many more untold stories of power, wealth, and legacy to uncover. Thank you for time. Subscribe to this channel. History of Hero, watch the next video. They called him the Desert Fox, a soldier so brilliant that even his enemies admired him. From the trenches of World War I to the blazing sands of North Africa, Erwin Johannes Eugen Rommel rose to become Germany's most celebrated war general. But behind the medals and victories lay a deadly choice, one that would pit his honor against the most feared man in history, Adolf Hitler. This is the untold story of the man who fought for his country and paid the ultimate price for defying its leader.